some time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning to you all. It is midweek because it is Wednesday, the 9th of February 2022. As I've always said, every day comes with another beautiful opportunity, another beautiful absolute chance for you to restart, to resync, to reorganize your life. Now, of course, for us here, of course, also on Good Morning Uganda, we do now appreciate and say that thank you so much for waking up with us, because we are here to give you what we do best. Now, me and my colleagues will be picking it up from there, but of course, I want to also start with Philo and say good morning, Philo.
Good morning, Felix, and good morning, Bobby. Well, thank you once again for joining us this morning. I'm really very happy and excited about the morning showers. I cannot really know where there is this, okay? I am very, very happy because, well, it's been very hot, it's been very dusty. And I also know that this is usually the biggest time when people, instead of maybe deciding to wake up, that's when you start looking for an extra blanket, looking for an extra way. There are some other people actually having certain kind of phobia for the rain. Me being one of them, I would call it omerophobia. I want to be very active when it's raining. Maybe I need to be moving. Now, while other people are actually deciding to get into the warmest corner of their beds, the deepest part of their beds, I don't think some other people are really excited. But anyway, I could actually say that we are very, very grateful, and probably, I don't know whether Mollen had anticipated this earlier on, but whatever comes, we are very happy to receive the rain. So I don't know how the rest of you feel about it, but I am happy that I was actually ready to move.
Well, clearly the rain didn't disorganize many more early birds. It doesn't look like change basically the early birds drills or what. Because if you're up by around 5 or 4 and you're getting out of your home probably by about 5:30, definitely you will notice that there's not much jam on the roads, and clearly there's a bit of, well, absence of whatever it may be on the road. But the problem then will come in at the guys who leave homes at around 6:45 up to about 8. That's why then you're going to have the mayhem. But apart from that, of course, many things are happening in this country, Philo. Before I get to Robert and Mollen, just to engage you quickly. So much happening in Uganda. Now, this morning, Mollen did come and to me, we were talking about the prices of commodities and what. Have you been keen to notice? Have you bought any salt lately?
You know, usually when you do monthly shopping, this is when it actually hits you, okay? Probably you did the last shopping like 2 months ago. So when you go back to buy more of these commodities, especially the home consumables, you go with the same budget. Now when you get to that supermarket, you get to that market, a product that you actually bought at about maybe 3,500 Uganda shillings previously, you'll find that it's now at 4,500. You should have seen the shock that was on my face. Like about 2 weeks I went to go and do some shopping for home basics. I went with a certain amount of money expecting that I would come back with probably about 8 commodities. I actually came back with 5 commodities. I was in shock. I wanted to buy soap. The bar of soap that I went to buy was about 5,500 Ugandan shillings. So I don't know whether I am the one feeling the pain, whether it's just a general problem, but also we need to find out where is this all coming from. And yes, I have heard quite a number of people say it's all fuel related. In Kampala City, you decide to just make a small movement from one place to another. You think they're going to charge you about 1,000 Ugandan shillings. This border man is going to comfortably and boldly look you in your eyes and tell you, Madam, we're going to give you 3,000 Ugandan shillings.
It's sort of like hilarious when you notice and look at how the things are working out. But I'll tell you something. The relationship of fuel is directly effective to almost everything in this country. Now, for example, you look at food, you look at transport, you look at education, you look at probably also salaries. Because, I mean, if you're being paid a particular amount of money, that means that is what you're going to get the allowance for transport, the allowance for lunch, and probably your own personal administration. Now, in the absence of low prices for general life commodities, life becomes hard, and it goes back to performance of individuals. How do they respond to work? How do they execute work? And all these kind of things. But interestingly, also far from all those philo, something quite interesting, and I want probably to pick your mind. Now, if you've been keen to note that most recent, the youth, they say the youth are the biggest number in Uganda.
Which is true, the biggest population is with the youth.
But
me and you.
Do you know the most productive population in Uganda? I'll give you an example. When you go to countries like in Europe, like countries like Germany, France, countries like Italy, countries like the likes of basically the countries in Europe, you will be keen to note that the most useful or the biggest population is the elderly. Yes. Because and generally, like, they run the economy because they invest, they have the money, they have invested longer time, they have more experience, they are more knowledgeable. But what do you think about this group they call the youth in Uganda? Do you think they have done any better? And I'll tell you why I'm asking later on. Do you think they're a threat, an opportunity? Are they useless? I mean, just to pick your thought.
Well, there are very many words that have actually been thrown at the youth, but we need also to appreciate that they are fragmented. There is that part of the youth that is actually very productive. They know what they want, and probably they have the resources. But I also believe that there is that part of the youth, or that section of the youth, that would really want to be able to exploit all their potential, to give all they have, to give all they have to offer. But maybe because they don't have the resources, they don't have the platforms. We have seen quite the biggest number of them being very unemployed. By the time you leave university, you don't have a plan. You don't know what's your next move. You start looking for jobs, but when you get to these job places, the qualifications they want from you are, I can say, unimaginable. You cannot offer, you would really want to be able to give them what you can, but because they don't believe you, you probably don't have enough experience, time, and then it hinders you, so you find yourself not being productive. But we also have some youths that have decided to just let go of the job seeking and be part of the job creating. Now those ones are the ones that are really struggling most, and I feel like most Ugandan youths are shifting to this area where they have decided to be their own bosses, to be their own employers. But you find them crying, they don't have all these resources, they don't have the capital, they don't have what it takes to make sure that they have their businesses running consistently. So I believe that there is a section of youths who have also just given up on life. Now I don't know, maybe because of the frustrations, or maybe because they just feel like they don't have anything to offer, or maybe they have just given up on life. But I refuse. I think that if we give the youth people, if we give these young people the opportunities, if we give them the strength they need, and I mean like financial strength, financial support, they can be able to deliver. Yeah.
Well, let me just say, maybe let me pick Mollen's mind on this. Mollen, good morning.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Felix.
Are you a youth?
What was the bracket? What is the age bracket?
Well, depending on your definition, I've let you
when you clock
qualify it.
30, you no longer vote.
No, I think youth goes up to 35.
So are you youth?
Yeah, I am.
Do you think you and your colleagues are useful to this country?
Of course we are.
How?
We are the ones shaping this country,
How?
if you talk about shaping. Because guess what? If you look at the innovative group in this country, you will look at mostly the youth.
Like?
Talk about
You see,
recently,
Mollen,
recently.
let's not just bundle things. When you talk about innovation, like?
Have you seen the innovations at Kirabo? Have you seen the brains behind what is happening at Kirabo? I'm telling you, most of those guys are within the age group of up to 35. So I want to think that the youth are contributing a lot.
Okay.
And even our member of parliaments, really, if you look at the people that are up to 35, it's quite a number. So
Let me tell you why I asked this
really
question.
a much contribution.
Just a few months or weeks ago, we lost one of the proprietors of Sembule. The trajectory of the last 2 years, we have lost so many people, and those include the likes of Mzee Chive Jinja, the likes of the Shaban Bantariza, the likes of BMK, so many, just to mention but a few, some of them to COVID, other Mzee Katongole, the founder of Utoda. When Mollen talks about innovations like Kira, you said Kira something. And I'm trying to look at a comparison. That's why I asked, when you go to European countries, you find that these elderly, which by the way compose the bigger population, have been, like they have shaped their countries. Now, do you think we can have a breed of the BMKs, the Sembule, the Bure and the Sembuya of this world? Can we have the Chirunda Chiveji in terms of politics? Can we have the Bidandi Saris of this world? Can we have another Yoweri Museveni? Like, do you think we can match up to that with the kind of youth we have today? Robert, good morning.
A lovely morning to you, Felix, the two beautiful ladies, and of course our lovely viewers. It is a cold morning, but we are here to fulfill our reason and commitment to you of spicing up your morning with relevant information. Now, when you talk about the issue of youth, Felix, I must say times have changed. But when you go to the informal sector, and this contributes greatly to our economy, by the way. It's dominated by the youth. Go to places like Chikubo, go to Katwe. When Mollen talked about the innovations, go to Katwe here and see how these brilliant brains are coming up and developing new things day by day. So, to answer your question,
you see, Robert, when you talk about the development, let us just generalize. The brilliant, what? Like what?
Well, I want to tell you,
making
Felix,
suitcases. But suitcases, that's what they do in world.
But that is also innovation. If you look at
I told you,
what we have
look
now,
at the informal sector at large. Even the formal sector, I know some of these things we must look at them critically and be more analytical. You talked about the people like BMK. Most of these people, actually, most of the tycoons dominating this city, you might find
of this world.
Yeah, that maybe even their education levels were not that very, very high. But at that early stage, the world put them to some corner where they had to tie it loose and make a breakthrough. The youth of today, many of them, some will focus so much on education, because at what time does a person complete university? Then if they begin life there, maybe by 30, they're just seeing the light out of the tunnel. So those youth you're talking about, many of them didn't have that journey in their youthful days. So times are changing. But giving them time, when they clock the 50s, the 70s, then you see how they have achieved.
Let me give you another example, Robert. I know at least you've read or you knew about the likes of John Sebana Chizito in this country. The likes of the late Nasa, who was our good friend here. We used to have a conversation with him. And the reason I'm bringing out these people is just to show you that what you're saying may not be truly qualified when you say about timing. These guys, when you read their stories, the BMK started working at the age of 16 without even education. Now, the question is, are the youth doing this country any good, or probably they are becoming another risk? Well, of course, I don't want to dwell on that, but clearly for outside this studio, many of you who are viewing us know what we are talking about. And probably this will bring to you to try and lodge an inquest and interest yourself in what your children are doing. Are they adding value to themselves? Are they being a menace, or are they just passing through life? Now, one of the greatest, well, of course, now a socialite, the likes of Steve Harvey, was reading something he wrote, and he said, I am not leaving anything for my children. The only thing I will be leaving for them probably is about 5% of what I've earned. I will emphasize to spend all what I've earned with their mother, because they should.
I'd be happy about something like that.
I'm so happy.
Understood why.
I wish he knew. I wish I could text him and tell him, dude, you've made my.
So you believe that actually parents should not leave anything for their children. You believe that the children should actually start from scratch to, you know, be able to build up their own empires. Is that the school of thought that you're trying to take right now?
And I'll tell you why. This is what the likes of TD Jakes answered him. He told him, on top of all that I've said, it is not what you leave for the kids. Okay. It is what you leave in the kids that will sustain them through life. Just like one of the musicians in Uganda said, that is Nyonyintono. Yes, he sang a song and said that, like, mutegeke abana tembategekera. In Uganda, which actually means the same thing I've said earlier, that prepare the kids, don't prepare for them. So actually, this is where we have a big problem. For me,
you're very right, because we've seen so many parents who've left good foundations in terms of investments, and once they're born, everything goes to the dogs. Many of them, many empires, people that have really worked, so the children will just sell it off, squander it off, just like the prodigal son in the Bible, who chose to squander everything.
At least he had an opportunity to be forgiven, because that was the Bible. But anyway, we'll get into our stories. I think we have had enough for the chit chat this morning, but of course it does give you a thought of mind for the day. In what you wake up to do every day, are you doing the right things? You may be running around, sweating, busting yourself for your kids, but guess what? They may be preparing is for doom when actually you leave. But anyway, we will be giving you our local stories and later on, of course, our international stories. But of course, also we'll be coming up with our normal drill of programs. And now this day we'll be having a newsreel, we'll be having weather, transport, basically what's happening on the roads. But of course, also our GMU agenda, and to crown it up, all will be sports with Ruben. And later on, Jage na Semakula Zikusoka will come in with Good Morning Uganda Extra. But for now, let's look at what's trending in the papers. That is in the stories that we did last night.
And we'll start it off with His Excellency while seeing off. That is Kenya's ambassador to Uganda, who is returning to his country for elective positions soon happening in Kenya. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni said, like it has always been the norm, Uganda is always ready to work with whoever is elected by the people of Kenya as president. General elections in Kenya are scheduled to be held on the 9th of August this very year. The president was meeting the outgoing Kenya's High Commissioner to Uganda, His Excellency Honorable Kilonzo, who is leaving after 3 years of service for a political contest in his native country. Mr. Kilonzo last year declared he will run for the Gituli governor seat come 2022. Museveni affirmed his support and willingness to work with Kenya to strengthen the fraternal bond of friendship and cooperation that exists between the two countries. His Excellency Kilonzo thanked President Museveni for the conducive working environment during his 3-year diplomatic tour of study, where he witnessed growth in the business sector between Uganda and Kenya despite the COVID-19 pandemic. The outgoing envoy was grateful to the government and the people of Uganda for their friendliness towards the government and the people of Kenya, that to exchange views on regional and international issues of mutual interest. Mr. Kilonzo was appointed in 2018 by President Uhuru Kenyatta as the Kenyan ambassador to Uganda.
In another story, government is investigating a section of people alleged to have been tortured by security agencies. The Minister for Constitutional Affairs, Murudi Mukasa, has told Parliament that government has secured a list of victims and taken notice of the matter. Now, Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, has requested the intervention of Parliamentary Human Rights Committee to join government and speed up the investigations. Now, this also comes at a time when the opposition wing in Parliament has continued to boycott the plenary sessions as they embark on the next course of action. Now, despite opposition boycotting parliamentary sessions, as announced last week by the leader of opposition, Mathias Mpuga, government has pronounced itself on the alleged reports of torture of a section of people by various security agencies. Now, a list of people are being investigated independently to ascertain the truth in the matter. Now, Parliament unanimously agrees that torture exists and it is immoral, no longer a hearsay, despite the blame being put on the errant security individuals. Now, government's address on the torture follows the opposition in Parliament entering advanced stages of a campaign to impeach the Minister for Security, General Jim Mwezi, for the alleged failure to end actions of torture.
And away from Parliament, we now look at investment in this country and investors where government has repossessed the land that was once given to them. Uganda Investment Authority has withdrawn over 500 hectares of land from 5 investors who have breached the investment contract. Minister Evelyn Anite, the Minister for Finance in charge of investment, said the move was intended to block investors who have delayed the investment plan. 500 acres of land have been withdrawn from 5 investors who breached the investment requirement. The affected include Tripoli Developers Uganda Limited, where 6 acres of the 8 were located to them have been gotten back by government. Mariana Agencies Limited has lost 50 acres out of the 76 acres given in 2014. Others include Zumbiri Holdings Limited, among many. Some of the considerations for withdrawal of the land included delays by the investors to develop the land beyond required time frame, giving lease out government land to other developers without authorization from Uganda Investment Authority, among other areas. According to Minister Evelyn Anite, she said government wants investors to work within the stipulated time. Foreign investors are usually required to develop at least 70% of the land in 18 months, while domestic investors can develop at least 30% of the land within 18 months.
Well, away from that, we look at FDC Iyala Press. Now, Forum for Democratic Change, FDC, has declared Harold Kaija, the Deputy Secretary General of the party, as the party flag bearer in the coming Iyala polls. Now, Kaija got 27 out of the 52 casted votes, winning the flag from the 5 candidates. Now, the results declared by FDC Electoral Commission Chairperson, that is Boniface, declared Harold Kaija winner to represent FDC in the forthcoming Iyala race. Now, in the overall poll, out of the 75 eligible voters of FDC, NEC members, Harold Kaija won with 27 votes, Tindeva took 15, Wante Jal pulled 14, and Susan Nanyonjo pulled 5 votes, while Seluge Yasin pulled nothing. Now, earlier on, the 5 candidates in the race took time to convince the electorate that their eligibility to represent Uganda in the East African Legislative Assembly. Now, the Deputy Secretary General of the party, also among the candidates, Harold Kaija, said that he had capacity to woo potential voters to come to the D-Day of choosing Iyala representatives.
First, we'll be looking at Ukraine crisis. Now, while we see Macron saying Putin pledges no new Ukraine escalation, our French President Emmanuel Macron has told reporters that President Vladimir Putin assured him that Russian forces would not ramp up the crisis near the Ukraine borders. Now, as secured an assurance there would be no deterioration or escalation, he said before meeting Ukraine's leader. However, Russia said any suggestion of guarantee was not right. Now, Russia has denied any plans to invade Ukraine, but it has assembled more than 100,000 troops near the borders of the of Ukraine and Russia. Now, U.S. officials believe Russia has assembled over 70% of military forces needed for a full-scale invasion. The tension between Russia, Ukraine, and the West comes nearly 8 years after Russia annexed Ukraine's southern Crimea Peninsula. Now, still about international stories, former Pope asks for forgiveness over child abuse scandals. Now, former Pope Benedict has acknowledged that errors occurred in handling sexual abuse cases when he was Archbishop of Munich, asked for forgiveness, and his lawyers, argued he was not directly to blame. Now, the Vatican on Tuesday issued a letter by Benedict and a 3-page addendum following the report released last month on abuse in archdiocese from at least 1945 to 2019 were by the German investigators. Now, the investigation accused Benedict of knowingly failing to stop 4 priests accused of child sex abuse when he was Archbishop of Munich between 1977 and 1982. Now, I have heard a great responsibility in Catholic Church. All the greater is my pain for the abuse and errors that occurred in those different places. Now, also during the time of my mandate, he wrote in a letter his first personal response to the report. Now into Africa, UN 13 million face hunger in Horn of Africa as drought worsens. Now an estimated 13 million people in the Horn of Africa are facing severe hunger. The United Nations World Food Programme came out with a report now saying drought conditions have affected pastoral and farmers' population across the southern and southeastern Ethiopian Horn, there where we see below average rainfall threatening to worsen already dire conditions in coming months. Now harvests are ruined, livestock are dying, and hunger is growing by recurrent drought effects in the Horn of Africa. Michael Dunfold, Regional Director of the World Food Programme, said.
Building a sustainable future. Now, the Mexican violinist who saved the Sierra Grada. Now, 40 years ago, Martha Isabel, known as Patty, left the Mexican city of Guatemala with her family in search of a simple rural life. Now, instead, she ended up leading and inspiring a group of some of 17,000 local environmental activists devoted to protecting the remote and beautiful Sierra Grada. Now, in the early 1980s, Patty had a successful career in Guatemala, also located about 2 hours north of Mexico City, as first violinist of the city's orchestra. Now, a soloist in 2 choirs and a music teacher in the prestigious private schools, she decided she wanted to lead a simpler life and move her family to the Sierra Grada. Now, the drastic change meant giving up urban comforts, living without electricity for 5 years, and developing a closer connection with nature. Now, and soon after arriving, she realized that the extent to which the environment was being ruined was with rampant tree cutting and controlled fires, and also the indiscriminate opening of trials. This inspired her to work closely with the local community, replanting trees to bring back the forest.
Stories, we also did give you a look into our local stories, but on top of all that, we also want to give you a look into our poll question. Now, our poll question today, Philo will give us our poll question, but before she does that, I just want to add my voice to what probably some of the stories we have done. Now, this whole tension against Ukraine and Russia is imagery of how far and how lost the world has come. And you can see, as one scholar did warn conclusively, that this would cause World War III if they proceed with their intentions. But anyway, let's look at our poll question with Philo.
For the last couple of weeks, we've had price hikes, especially in commodities that we consume day to day. And it's not just commodities, but also cuts across services. Very many people have come out to complain, although some, it had taken them a minute to realize and recognize these hikes. But now that they're out there, several people are coming out to ask government to actually chip in. Now, this morning, we would love to find out from you, what can government do to deal with the increasing prices for the consumables amidst the reopening of the economy? You think you have a response to that? Well, get to us on Twitter. The hashtag is UBCGMU. You can also send us a WhatsApp or an SMS text. The number is 0709 602 592.
Well, of course, also Robert does hold tight on his Hallelujah bottles. Robert.
Well, it is a cold weather out there, and of course, we know we have 2 rainy seasons, and we are soon entering the March to May rainy season where it's going to be cold. So just be prepared for that by boosting your body's immune system. Simply at just 1,500, you get one of these drinks, either Hallelujah Ginger Tea, which happens to be a favorite to many, or Hallelujah Tamarind drink that will greatly boost your immune system. And there is assurance when it comes to these drinks because they have been certified by the Uganda National Bureau of Standards. So go grab one.
Well, of course, as Robert directs us where to grab one, definitely Mollen will confirm about the weather seasons much later in a segment, because I saw her looking at Robert saying, really?
I'm a farmer.
But you know what, he does bring out a good point, because you look at some of the issues that could come up with cold weather, because that means there are also, you know, diseases that do come up. But when you have your immunity boosted, then you stand a good chance. So I think there is a relation there. And,
well,
you know, I applaud Robert for being an ambassador of boosting our immune system. Kudos.
But anyway, today being Wednesday, we also come to you with a song for the day. Again, because it is midweek, we want to energize you so we can see you through at least the end of the week. So far, so good. We're taking a break and have a song for the day. But when we come back, we'll also be having a topical discussion for our newsreel. Myself, and of course my colleagues will be in for that. Let's take a break now.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Alleged torture of about 2 people. One is the author, that is Kakwenzi Rukirabasaija, and also that is the National Unity Registrar for Kasese District, who is Samuel Maseruka. Now, these, among others, are what we see the leader of opposition and many MPs on the side of the opposition in Parliament moving out of Parliament. Actually, they have a 2-week suspension that is going on from plenary. Yesterday they met and they opened, that is a public register for people who have complaints of torture or relatives or friends that have been tortured, and they say this is a move they want to push and see that there is respect to human rights. Now, Felix, when we see members of Parliament get to this level, we know we have the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature. Members of Parliament are also an arm. Some have said they have tried avenues through the judiciary, maybe they have not gotten what they wanted. Now, as Parliament that make the law want to see these laws upheld. When you look at a report from Uganda Human Rights, it clearly shows that if you are to monetize how much maybe government could be losing, over 5 billion has to be given to people who court has recommended should be compensated. Parliament getting to this level, more members of the opposition, what does this mean at such a time?
Robert, first and foremost, we must ascertain conclusively that this conversation about human rights is not simply a partisan issue. And because of that, I wish to qualify it in the normative of the true definition of what human rights are, because for us to understand that it is simply not about the NUP, the FDC of this world or whatever. Human rights are basically those inherent appreciations, inherent rights, the deservings that everyone must get or is entitled to, are only qualified by being a human. Okay? Now later on, secondary qualification may be in a jurisdiction. Maybe if you stay in Uganda, Kenya, Sudan, just to mention, but the primary qualification is being a human. And such rights are universal in nature. So what we see happening from the side of the opposition, or part of the opposition, because I saw the Honorable Muhammad in Sedeko in Parliament, even a number of them, FDC guys didn't leave, some of the, but a part of the opposition, or the bigger part of the opposition in Parliament, trying to put up a spirited demonstration against this. In as much as they are the opposition, I think we may lose the context of what we are dealing with because of the messenger. You get the point? Because someone may not interest themselves much because have a wave at you, maybe that is the opposition, that is they are cantankerous.
We saw them do the same in December,
yes,
in September last year.
Because even yesterday I saw the Honorable Joyce Bagara being arrested not really arrested, but I think she had T-shirts they were going to put on, they were confiscated. They had that. So
then later returned war.
The handling of this matter is what is the problem. But the conceptual aspect in human rights abuse, you cannot refuse to discuss it as a Ugandan, first of all, but by far as a human being. If it is true what we are seeing on our phones, on our computers, on our TVs, that this is what happened to individuals, we must talk about it. It is indeed sad. I saw one of the videos. I don't want to qualify it as being truth.
That has the alleged torture.
Allegedly. You would cry. You wouldn't want to wake up one day and Robert, my brother, has gone through that, or myself, or even Mollen, or Philo, or anyone. Now, that's why we must talk about it. But we must talk about this objectively. I'll tell you why human rights abuse is a problem in civilized or civilities like Uganda. Because countries like Uganda have very expensively, by the way, put in place channels of recourse. Expensively, it was a big deal for Uganda as a country, the government as well, to put in place structures like court structures, to build formidable armies for both internal and external aggression, to put in place systems, infrastructure systems, both for policy, management, enforcement, and of course also exhibition of the rights of people. For example, you have the commissions of this world, you have a full August House, you have a full judiciary, you have a full executive. It is not easy to put up those structures.
And it's even embedded in our constitution. Articles 24 go to 44,
they are
very clearly stipulated
on how we can avoid human rights abuse. Why are we not exploiting them? That should be the discussion for the opposition. Is the problem the law? Is the problem personalities? Is the problem the system? Is the problem the victims? Who is the problem? Because in Uganda, you have the presumption of innocence, you have very fine judges, you have fine lawyers, you have the best prisons, by the way, among the best in the world. You get it. And in terms of rehabilitation, in terms of punishment, all these things, everything is catered for. Why are we still having human rights abuse? Who is to answer that question? Secondly, just briefly, Robert, are we addressing the problem? Are we addressing the problem? The opposition has marched out in protest. Does that incite whoever is doing it? Does it worry? You get the point. And I want to give you an example. Let's say at home, if your maid one day wakes up and says, I don't like you, uncle, normally they call us uncle, would you lose sleep?
Definitely not.
You would simply say, why, Mama Gundi, ejat funani?
Umulela.
You wouldn't. Now, it means that the methodology, in case she's aggrieved, that is a wrong methodology. You wouldn't lose, you may lose, you may think about it, but like, anyway, I can. So, does the actions of the affected parties today, like the opposition, do they portray, or do they make the perpetrators lose sleep? If yes, let's proceed with that. If no, maybe we need side time, we change our guards in terms of how we approach the abuses of human rights.
Here I want to bring in Mollen, and this for the second time, because in September last year we saw members of the opposition move out following the arrest of Honorable Segirinya and Honorable Sewanyana. So they moved out. They had given themselves 2 weeks. Of course, that didn't come to an end. They found ways of getting back and had justification for that, why they returned. This time around, last week we saw them move out, and it was a suspension of 2 good weeks without attending plenary sittings. Here we've seen that is the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Evelyn, coming up and giving the Parliamentary Human Rights Committee 45 days to come up with a report on torture and arbitrary arrests so that they justify. Yesterday we saw the acting Minister for Constitutional Affairs, Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Honorable Mululi Mukasa, trying to come up and give a report of what is happening, though he said that most of the names given didn't have proper places of abode. Many of them could be hardly traced, but said they are working on this. So when we look at the composition of our parliament, and I want to be very brief on this, you'll find that we have about 529 MPs. NRM, or National Resistance Movement, has about 336 members. Opposition in total is about 109. If you combine all of them together. Independent Senator, that is 74. So such actions, which impact do they have? Because even their absence, we saw Parliament, the plenary was going on. So does this cause the needed or much longed for breakthrough in their craving to see those in detention released, to see those that are allegedly committing these offenses on suspects held accountable?
Well, Robert, if you ask me, I think opposition boycotting Parliament is not a solution. It is as simple as that. Because guess what? You actually did bring out the statistics of how many member of parliaments we have in terms of parties. And, you know, that's clear. So I don't think this is the solution to the problem that we have here. So this is not going to yield, except it brings attention to the matter. So at least you give them that. Because now there is more attention, we're talking about it, and even the people who are supposed to act will look forward to doing that. But it doesn't mean that Parliament is not sitting, because obviously the sessions went on. So I don't think that this is something that opposition should always look forward to do. But rather, I want us to concentrate on the issue at hand here. That is a violation of human rights. This has gone on for far too long. And when you look at violating human rights, that's the root cause of everything that we are seeing now. The conflict, the insecurity, the violence, which in turn actually causes more human rights abuse. So that is where we should focus. And where is the problem? Now, we did mention where the gaps are. Of course, I also want to point it to the law. By the time we get there, we get to opposition actually standing out and walking out of Parliament, it means that the processes that were taken to address this in the court of law did not yield. So if we have seen courts sitting and the victims are there and the lawyers are working on it, but there is nothing yielding, we still see people being violated and going back to prisons or going back, that means the law is not helping. And this has nothing to do with government. I want to put that across. It has nothing to do with government, but the system that is there. So if Court
Let me
has
get you
failed.
clearly at this, Mollen, because when you talk about government, yes, we had an amendment in the Anti-Torture Act of this country, where previously we were holding institutions accountable. Now you can hold individuals accountable who committed this offense.
Yeah.
And I want to quote one of the members of parliament. That is the leader that was Honorable Nkunda. He said, no, Honorable Mastiko Muhammad Kampala, a Central MP, he was on the plenary, and he said, these alleged cases of torture, even if the suspects were wrong, you know, torture shouldn't have been done on them. So he's saying, leave alone the law to take its course on this prosecution, getting evidence on what done, but where those people that allegedly could have committed this.
Well,
so when we talk about how then you
sure.
bring...
It is an individual basis for sure. But that is why I'm saying that by the time that we seek attention from Parliament, it actually shows that this process has not been done. Because if you have court looking into this, and like you put it, you have the prosecution, and the fact that it is not going away and Parliament has to seek attention, it means there is a gap within the law. So even when they did pass, you know, an act and whatever, it means that nothing is being done if you go to court. So for example, you're the judge overseeing this case, and you clearly see evidence that this person is being tortured. The evidence is there because we're seeing pictures of people even having bruises on their backs that were going across social media. So you as the judge, or what does the law say about that? Why are you not handling that case to leave it to opposition now to take action?
Let me bring in Felix here, Mollen, and I want us to understand this very well. In my opinion, I want to believe Uganda is one of the country's very good laws. Even when you look through Article 20 to 44 on torture, they are very good laws. We've had a lot of activism from the civil society. A full act. So I don't want to believe that we have any challenge with the law. But let's identify where is the gap. Because the law is very clear, Felix.
You know, but let me say this. You know, we can't be talking about human rights as a matter of partisan appreciation. And for me, that's where I want to distance myself from that particular attribute. And I heard you people talk about the issue of numbers in Parliament. Yeah, the opposition is not good enough. It's not enough numbers. Even if they go out, I'll tell you, human rights are universal, and they shouldn't be. Their appreciation is not a qualification of parties. And so, it is sad, by the way, and I will say this without fear of contradiction, that the general trajectory of Parliament has not appreciated this concern.
It's the same Parliament that passed these laws, Felix.
It is by far sad.
If they didn't appreciate, then we wouldn't have the laws in place.
What is the use of a law without enforcement, Robert? Come on, let's be serious.
Because Parliament doesn't enforce.
No, but if for example, Robert, you go at home and you say, I want to be, when I come back, I want to find this compound
clean.
Now, when you come back and it is not swept, do you say, I told her to sweep? Is that enough?
This is how far they have gone.
Parliament, let me tell you, Parliament has how many commissions? That it even has a commission on human rights?
Yes.
Now, when the Speaker says that take 45 days of investigating, I've continuously said, and I'll say again on this show, human rights contribute what we call irreparable damages. That even in your own preamble, Robert, you said that government loses a lot of money. That's
in awards, yes,
now,
compensations and awards.
What do we do? What is the role of Parliament? And that's what we should be, like, before we discuss the storming out of what is the role of Parliament in stopping human rights abuse?
Rule number one, have the laws in place.
Thank you. Now, when you have the laws, who evaluates? Where is the M&E? Because Parliament still has that in its confines. It has the audacity to call a minister. It has the audacity even to set aside. Even the head of state. Last time when they stormed Parliament, they invited who? The CDF, the Simani, IGP, deputy. Why is it not an issue if it's not against them? If you think they had beaten a member of parliament, then they'd be all in.
Well, when we had the
aggressive.
likes of Alan Sewanya now, we had Honorable Segrinya Mohammed. That was the first time we saw the 11th parliament. Opposition storm out. Today, they are saying they are moving a move that is aiming at censuring a whole minister in charge of security.
But let me say this, and I want, again, I don't want to get contradicted. You see, for me, my interest is in how do we stop human rights abuse. Everything we do must be tailored to. So, when Honorable Muhwezi Jim leaves, does he go with the abuse of human rights? Was he the one here 3 years ago when we had similar cases, or even before? I think that is us being petty, and that's where the opposition loses it most of the time.
But Felix, still to get you on, where should the opposition go next?
This is not a matter of opposition.
Let's understand
what I'm
this
saying.
better. You know, there is a person who is usually more vulnerable than the other. When you talk about human rights, yes, we must appreciate them as a nationwide issue. But there are those that have been so many of victims. If you go to the prisons and look at those allegedly having been tortured, you may hardly find any of NRM may be.
You don't know that.
I'm just saying you may hardly, but you would find maybe a forest of those that are from the opposition.
So, are you suggesting that politics is one of the ways that, or one of the causes of human rights abuse? Is that a suggestion you're making?
We've had a number of them as a result of political activity.
So, to qualify your statement, Robert, you mean to say that if we deal with the political questions, you have dealt with the human rights abuse?
Just to a certain
Then that's a
extent.
solution. You've given it yourself.
Also, Felix and Robert, allow me interrupt here. And I think we shouldn't be here thinking that, okay, the blame is not on Parliament or even the Human Rights Committee that was put across. My question is, when are they called upon? Do they have to wait for the Speaker to say out and be like, okay, now the Human Rights Committee in Parliament take on this matter? Because if we're being honest about this case, this has gone on for far too long. And the suspects that were tortured, it has been months and months. And these guys were in Parliament seated. So did they have to wait for the Speaker to call them on, or why wouldn't they take this on earlier on? So that means there is also a gap in Parliament.
The Human Rights Committee.
Exactly. Because they have been sitting, they have been seeing this happen, but they were just laying down. They did not have, I don't understand their mandates, because how do you see that going on over and over, and then you're seated waiting for until the Speaker says, okay, now take this on, and that's when they're summoning Honorable Jim Mwezi.
No,
I don't think that's the approach.
You see, the biggest challenge to answering the human rights question, again, in as much as the biggest cause, is the politicking that surrounds it. The politics that surrounds it.
Yes.
Sometimes we have had forged allegations, by the way, in this country.
I agree with you.
We're in the country where we have had members of parliament who have kidnapped themselves. And this is a matter of fact.
You've had those that are thoroughly beaten only to be seen with heavy Timberland boots.
So there's a lot of deception. However, and I want to say this in good spirit, from the background of the legalese or the law for that matter, that human rights should be a concern for all of us. For all of us. When I saw some of these videos, as I've said earlier, I wouldn't wish to see Robert in that state. And I don't think my children would want to see me in this state, in the same state of the videos we have been seeing. We have laws, we have processes, let's use them. Even if the commissions will be made, but let's energize, let's give life to the systems. The reason why such things happen, that for example, why do you think members of parliament are storming out of parliament? Because maybe they have doubt in the systems, that even when we go to court processes, the people who
that is
cause
where I
this
want to
will
ask
not be
you,
apprehended.
Felix, do you think the judiciary on issues of torture has let Ugandans down? Why am I asking this?
What a question.
Reason being, when we set laws in place, members of parliament, I was listening to many of them, they gave a number of incidents where they went through and to the courts and they did not get the justice they're expecting. Are we seeing the judiciary not up to the game? What is lacking? Because like you said, if I tell my children that by the time I return, I want this compound clean, and I have a person to handle them in case they don't.
So when you come back, what can you do? What do you normally do?
Well,
just asking out of curiosity. If it's not clean,
it's not
Because it
clean.
will
You
still
talk
be
to
the
them.
same thing.
I go to the second in command of the home,
and you beat that one.
and that is the disciplinary person. If she has not done that,
But guess what? Guess what, Robert?
so
Me-
here, people look at that. If I look at
That
members
is
of
transferred
parliament
monies.
that
But
are
then-
desperate, seeming to have exhausted all other avenues,
Let
about
me
what
say
they're
something
saying,
about the
and they have
courts,
not worked.
Robert.
But also, I mean, if I look at this issue, I'm telling you, Robert, actions to prevent and promote human
The
rights.
redress is the judiciary.
Need that
Abuse of these human
preventive
rights,
power.
investigate them, hold people accountable.
You need preventive power.
Let me just
You
say
need to make sure it's not happening in the first place.
Just
you
a few
cannot
days
just be
ago.
addressing this to
Let me
the
get
law.
from Felix, please.
Actually, the problem also, let me just take you back, Robert. If you remember the Black Mamba case, you remember the Kawesi suspects at the Crimes Division, the High Court. The many times.
A section of the Kawesi suspects were awarded
What?
200
No,
million
I've been away from the award. I'm talking about when
as a result of
they were
having been
given
tortured.
bail
They were
and
arrested.
they are rearrested. There's a time the state machinery attacked the court. Remember the case of Besige with the Black Mamba the first time? In fact, for us as legal scholars, it has become a academic case. If you don't quote the Black Mamba case of, you may not pass an exam when you're doing constitutional law and talking about separation of powers and checks and balances. You must use that case. In fact, all scholars will look for that case. Now, when you ask me, has the judiciary let us down? It can't be the judiciary to blame. Ask, have we aided the judiciary to assist us in this problem? Have we done enough as the other institutions? The Honorable Justice Kanyehamba, in his ruling in the case of General Tinyefunza versus Attorney General, he said, the arms of government are like three cooking stones. Even if the judiciary was so good, and indeed it is so good, I can prove that, it can't deal with the issue of human rights in isolation of the parliament and the executive. Because between you and me, the Honorable Justice Alfonso Winyidoro is not an investigator. He doesn't own a cell where Kirabo is arrested. That keep him here for me so that Mollen doesn't touch Mollen. So, conclusively, I don't want to say the judiciary has failed. I want to say the question is, have we done enough to support the judiciary to become stable, sober, and able to deal with the issues of human rights abuse? Because it can't do this even if it was the best in the world.
I agree with you, Felix. Of course, there are also claims that maybe sometimes the judiciary is not that much independent as many Ugandans would think. But of course, that we leave to you, our viewer. When we return, we will be looking at what is trending in the print media. Let's all together condemn torture.
Raising voices.
As a community member, I think we need to change in the way we act in response to violence against children. In my small way, I can be a leader in preventing violence in my community. I promise to work with my neighbor to create violence-free homes and communities for our children.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
Our Ugandan story isn't a new one. It's not about where we come from. It's about what can be accomplished when we're working, living, and growing together. It's about speaking the same language, the language of progress. We're Ugandans building Uganda with Ugandans, skilling Ugandans and developing competencies required in the oil and gas sector, partnering with Ugandan businesses to achieve greatness. We're here to build because at the end of the day, we're truly Ugandan.
Start your day bright and early with good morning bundles from Airtel. That's right. Enjoy brighter days with 2 GB at 5,000 shillings, valid for 24 hours. Join that morning agent meeting. Close that online business deal. Catch up with loved ones. Do it all with the most affordable data bundles. Dial *175# to buy good morning bundles from 12 a.m. to 11:59 a.m. and enjoy 2 GB, valid for 24 hours from time of purchase. Good morning bundles for the best day ahead with Airtel, the smartphone network.
Raising voices.
As a community member, I think we need to change in the way we act in response to violence against children. In my small way, I can be a leader in preventing violence in my community. I promise to work with my neighbor to create violence-free homes and communities for our children.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
Our Ugandan story isn't a new one. It's not about where we come from. It's about what can be accomplished when we're working, living, and growing together. It's about speaking the same language, the language of progress. We're Ugandans building Uganda with Ugandans, skilling Ugandans and developing competencies required in the oil and gas sector, partnering with Ugandan businesses to achieve greatness. We're here to build because at the end of the day, we're truly Ugandan.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning once again, and we must say thank you so much for being with us this morning. Now, at this particular point, we want to take you through what's trending in the papers, and we'll be looking at the Daily Monitor, where we see the big headline: torture, MPs pile pressure on government. Now, also, Museveni recalls Kandiho, gives him police job, and succulent plants bring positive energy to your home. But also, Anita briefs House on Olanya's health status, and list of university study loans beneficiaries, and government also paying at least 87.7 billion for unused electricity. Now, much again about the same papers. They give you, the lizard here comes in to say, yet many Ugandans can't access power. Okay, well, let's take a look at what's also on top of the new vision.
Private teachers getting 30 billion Ugandan shillings. Now you can say probably their prayers have been answered. And also President Museveni ready to work with Kenya's next elected president. And also domestic tourist numbers skyrocket. I think this is very good news for us as a country. And police probes theft of civil servants' data. And we also take a look at the innovation sector, where 2 Ugandan innovators shortlisted for top Africa prize. And there is also a total page there for you and your child, draw and win competition, so they can also, be part of it. And on the second page of New Vision, how do I keep my son away from sugar mummies? Well, I don't know, maybe we'll be getting these answers. And also, we feel our son is not ready for marriage. Well, get yourself a copy of New Vision this morning and address all these stories.
Now, again, for sports, we'll be looking at URA Bank on new spirit in title push, and Man City take on Bradford, but also all Africa senior champs return home. And still about, of course, sports there, we see Terra Nova Academy steps up in bid to produce next generation. Now, still in sports, Ndeje Bugema on song as Woodball circuit returns.
And in the sports on New Vision this morning, we're still looking at the post-AFCON celebrations, especially Senegal. And hundreds of thousands of Senegalese gather in Dakar for celebrations and still reminiscing on the AFCON moments. And also looking at Mane versus Salah rematch is clear on the horizon. And the A to Z of AFCON 2021 and Mosepe Club, Cisse Spalletti, what they said at AFCON.
Well, just a sneak peek into the Daily Nation there. We see now what it means Kalonzo, the unofficial kingmaker, gains more clout. Now pause where the numbers are. Now still in the papers, we'll be looking at, of course, much of the stories are marred by Kenyan politics, what we see as they prepare ahead of the election. Now bring it on, Ruto dares Uhuru there. We await to see when, of course, Uhuru will come out to make his groundbreaking announcement there for Raila Odinga. We can't wait. And many people are terming this as quite Judas of the kind. But anyway, on to the roads with Philo. She'll be telling us how do we get to this beautiful city of Kampala and from where. Hi, Philo.
Hey, Felix. Today being a Wednesday morning, like I told you earlier on, we did wake up with morning showers. I always say I've never understood the relationship between Ugandan traffic and the weather. Whether it's raining, whether it's shining, I just never know where it starts from. But the traffic, at least you are very guaranteed that it's going to be very intense. And it's not just one specific part of Kampala, but several parts of Kampala city. So if you are really trying to get to your workplace and you woke up at 7, there are chances that you will be getting to your workplace at 10. Maybe Felix is very lucky that he has to be here before 6.
So have you ever used the tuk-tuk, Philo?
Oh yes, I have, but not within Kampala. Yeah,
Where?
not within Kampala. I was in Mombasa, and that was my first experience.
No, I'm talking
because
about Kampala, you and your Mombasa. I'm talking about in class.
I haven't tried out the Kampala tuk-tuks, but I think it's an experience I need to...
Can you imagine Mollen in a tuk-tuk?
What is wrong with Mollen in a tuk-tuk? I think she would really ace it.
I'm just saying. But anyway, let me let Mollen do of course, traffic and road update there. But we will be back, of course, later on having our weather. And definitely Robert will be topping up all this with the GMU agenda. And Ruben will be giving us updates in sports.
Well, the situation on the roads this morning is not really the best, and I think it has been escalated by the morning showers, by the rain. So everybody's trying to scuffle and try to find the space on the road to make sure that they get to the city center. And I will be focusing majorly on the Gayaza-Kampala highway this morning. You know, the areas of Komamboga, Mawanda Road, Chira Road, and you know, getting into the city. Of course, there are many shortcuts there as well, but it seems that this morning they're not also the very best. So you may want to really brace yourself. Starting with Kampala Gayaza Road, it's really intense. There are very many motorists on the road who are trying to access the city center. Now, you know that with Gayaza Kampala Road, it definitely takes you to, it connects you to Bombo Road and also the roundabout there. You can still find yourself or find your way to the city center. Now, of course, from Gayaza Road, after connecting to Bombo Road, you'll also be able to connect to Wandegea. Wandegea has, it is usually packed, whether with or without rain, so you know what to expect there. Now, this is one route that you could use to get to the city center. Of course, when you continue from Wandegea, you go all the way to Bombo Road and finally find yourself on Kampala Road. But that whole road is actually crazy a bit, because very many people are they are trickling in from other shortcuts. Very many of us, of course, as always, we try to avoid using the main road, which is usually never the best option. But again, you find that in some scenarios, even these shortcuts are really crowded. And also, if you don't want to take that longer route of Gayaza-Kampala Road and getting to Binaisa Road and eventually Wandegea, you could actually take a detour and use the Komamboga Road. You connect from Gayaza-Kampala Road and find yourself in Komamboga, continuing all the way until Mawanda Road. Now, this road also is not really the best this morning, but it's an an option that you could actually decide to use as opposed to using the main road. Mawanda Road is a bit manageable. It's possible, but also you need to know that from connecting to Mawanda Road, you'll find yourself on Chira Road. Chira Road is also, it's that main route that we have very many cars, very many motorists, very many road users take up eventually when they come from all over. It's one connecting road that you find people who have used all the shortcuts find themselves connecting to, because it's the one that also leads you to other shortcuts that get you into the final city center. Now, whether you're leaving the city center or you are trying to access it, I want to tell you that the situation is more or less the same. So you may be wanting to expect the same, unless you really get out of the city center and you get into the city outskirts. Now, those are a bit manageable because, well, very many people, we assume, are leaving their residential places, which are mostly in the outskirts, and try to access the city center. Mawanda Road is an option for you, and you will connect to Chira Road. Chira Road, still, you could decide to go all the way to Molago and use that route and get to Yusuf Lule Road, but you could also use the John Babiha Road right from that Akasha Junction. And we have very many cars that come from Tinda and connect there, cars coming from Mawanda Road and connecting from there. You could use that John Babiha, but again, it's never it's never an option I would really want people to use, unless you have children who go to schools around that place. Now, that is, I think, one of the reasons why it's usually fully packed. Now, when you get from John Babiha, you connect to Yusuf Lule Road, and from Yusuf Lule Road, you could actually take a detour. You could use Shimoni Road, you could use Nile Avenue, you could use Parliament Avenue to get to the city center, or to find yourself joining Kampala Road. Kampala Road is actually packed. It's really crazy. It's intense, I won't lie. So maybe if your workplace is at the city center, you may decide to look at other options, unless you cannot afford to use an alternative right now, if that is the one specific route that you have to use. Well, that's it for the traffic updates. Maybe just to give you a traffic tip, now that the roads are really intense and they are heavy with traffic, it's I would rather that you stay alert and be in your lane. Also, avoid being an aggressive driver, because cars are packed, so there are chances that you will find yourself drawing damage to your car, drawing damage to other cars. And also, you know, there are other road users, so do not be a selfish road user. Don't be an aggressive driver, especially in these times of traffic. And also be very cautious of the people who are driving in front and behind you, and also keep a certain distance between you and the car in front of you. And again, avoid switching from one lane to another, because you're causing a whole lot of chaos and disorganization. Just be a little bit patient until you get to where you're supposed to be going. Well, that's it from the traffic updates, and right now I will let Mollen do her thing. But before we actually go any further, Mollen, I'm always excited. I don't know why, maybe because we are going through quite a whole dry period of time. So when I see the showers, when I see the rains, I can be very optimistic that maybe we are going to carry forward with this kind of weather, maybe for the next 2 or 3 days. Now, I don't know whether this is just for today, or maybe because we're slowly but transitioning into March. Is this what we should be expecting for some of the days that are left in February? And is this what we'll be having as we eventually transition into March? Because earlier on you did say that March we should be expecting some rains here in Uganda. So is this the weather going? Is this what the weather is going to be like? Or also this is a one-time thing, and maybe I need to manage my expectations and also excitement, because I know very many people, the dusty roads have been crazy. People have been complaining, cleaning all these dusty areas. So is this the weather that we should be expecting for the next couple of weeks, or once in a while until we get into March, Mollen?
I would say this is an early sign. Obviously, this is an early sign of our rains that are soon coming. But guess what? I don't think we should rely on the fact that we can expect this kind of weather for the next couple of days. But the good news is that I do have the forecast with me for what is likely to happen in the next couple of days. So you can count on that. But also you look at the morning rains that do come up. I mean, the timing. I wish I had a way to make sure they just come at a different time when I'm not heading for work, but it's unfortunate. Anyway, So when we talk about the weather that is happening even here in Uganda, we also want to look at the extreme weather happening across the world. And this morning we did get news of what has happened in Bogota, Colombia. And so far 14 people have died and 35 have been injured due to a landslide. And that came after heavy rains hitting the area. Now this area has been having a little bit of rains, at least to a level that was just normal for a rainy season. But just a few days ago, there was continuous rains, and just yesterday we did see heavy rains across Bogota and one of the villages where it was a lot of destruction. Now the images that are being shown, those are some of the people that are trying to get out the debris to make sure that at least there is rescue in the area to assess the damage over that place. But also you look at the landslides that usually occur after heavy rains. These usually also come after there has been continuous amounts of rain. That means that shakes in the ground and resulting into the fact that the ground can't hold it anymore, and that's how we end up with landslides. But there was a lot of help from the security agencies that did come up to make sure there is rescue and assess the damage as well. But so far the number that we have confirmed is that 14 people are dead, 35 injured, and also there could be more numbers, but we'll be following up on that story to see how far this has gone for sure, and also assess what is the likelihood of relating this with the changes within the climate over the area. But Mexico has at least had one of those quite stable climates, if you ask me, because they have had to deal with consistent rainy conditions. But also you can't rule out the fact that there is always possibilities of extreme weather events happening. And in a time like this, when we're talking about variations in seasons, when we're talking about variations in climate patterns, it is likely that you're going to always talk about those extreme weather events, that you're always going to be talking about what is likely to happen after, especially cases of heavy rainfall. You look at strong winds. Now it's just a few days we just got away from also what happened in Madagascar after the wake of tropical cyclone Boycotting, and so far even there is still effects of that, because just a few hours ago there was also an alert that there's a likelihood of more storms developing over the Indian Ocean, and alerts going to the coastal areas, especially for Mozambique, Malawi. You look at Zimbabwe. Madagascar is at the hotspot of what is likely to be happening over that area, because also it is on the island. So that means that all the systems that do develop from the Indian Ocean affect that area. So even what we're talking about here is the frequency at which extreme weather are happening across the world. Now, if you look at what we've had in just 1 week, just from the drought story that we're even reading this morning, now you look at the landslides in Colombia, but also getting from that tropical cyclone that did hit Southern Africa. This is something that is happening concurrently. Not to mention that, over the course of last year, we're also dealing with extreme weather events. We did see a lot of wildfires breaking out, especially within the US. We did see a lot of wildfires across, especially southern US, California, Canada as well. So this has been happening over the world, and this is what we're talking about every day here. We talk about climate news. We talk about what can be done to foster action against climate change, because we're going to be seeing more and more of these events. And most of that recently is a talk about fossil fuels. That is something that we should be abolishing. But again, we're getting into business. So I think the best way to look into climate action when we're talking about fossil fuels is to commit to the actions that we put across. Now, if you are meeting as world leaders and saying, okay, on our course of action to limit global rise in temperatures, we are going to abolish use of coal. And then before you know it, you see pouring in money into, mining more coal, then that is just contrary to what we're dealing with. This is planet A. I don't know whether people are aware that there is planet B, but I don't think that is the case, which is why you might be getting a lot of issues around that area. But we'll go ahead and take a look at what is happening across the country right now. And I can tell you that system that did bring us rains earlier in the day is still around, and that is what was bringing us much more of those rains, especially across areas of Kampala and also Wakiso, Entebbe there, Mukono. That area has been having a lot of rains since morning. But it seems like that system is starting to clear. We're seeing those clouds moving away, and much more of that is also extending all the way up to Midwestern Uganda and parts of Central that did have to start off with those rainy conditions. Where you're seeing the red colors, those are the hot spots for where we had those rainy conditions. But also extending to Southwestern Uganda, you look at parts of Mbara also even right now dealing with those light rains across the area. Now, northern Uganda still remains dry. We have those sunny conditions from the satellites being indicated for eastern Uganda and also parts of northern Uganda. But that system is likely to continue mostly into Midwestern, so Masindi, across Hoima, Fort Portal, you can expect to have much more of those rains as the day continues. And also for southwestern Uganda, Kabale Highlands do expect those rains to continue throughout the morning, and likely they would be sticking around even into the afternoon. Also for parts of Lake Choga, especially the southern area where we do have Nakasongola as well, that area across Ruweru, Wobulenzi, also having cloudy conditions for now, and a little bit of those rains. Now those are likely to stick around until we get into evening, but also you look at the fact that northern Uganda, eastern Uganda will maintain those sunny conditions, so that is how much you can look forward to having. We'll be getting more into what is likely to happen over the course of the next few days when we come back tomorrow with weather and nature. Well, I want to leave you with Philo, who will be giving us our feedback into your poll question. We're always interested in knowing your opinion about what you think on these national issues. Philo, what do you have?
Well, concerning the morning poll question, where we did ask what can government do to deal with the increasing prices for consumables amid the reopening of the economy. Now, some of you did come through with some of your feedback on our Twitter feed, and from you, Tony Kent Chaze, you're saying Uganda Revenue Authority is often mentioned whenever prices go high. Traders, dealers and many others claim taxes are high. If possible, a revision of the tax policy comes in handy. And you're also noting that adjustment and flexibility in the tax policy can perhaps sort price fluctuations. And from you, Remy Martin, you're actually saying, well, being a Ugandan, living in Uganda is not nice sometimes. Prices of commodities just rise without any clear reason, and government does absolutely nothing about it. Now, fuel prices have stabilized at 5K for a litre of petrol. Well, continue bringing in your feedback. We'll be getting into it much later on. Well, do also stay here because we are coming in with Good Morning Uganda agenda with Robert Kirabo, and also much later on we'll be looking at what is happening in the sports arena, and Ruben will be here to give you all these updates. And again, also do look out for Good Morning Uganda Extra with Jagenda, who will be coming in right after 9 a.m. Have a wonderful and productive Wednesday morning. I am Philomena Mastiko.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by
Authentically symbolic and insightful.
We should work so hard to evacuate this power.
Behind the headlines, every Wednesday at 10 p.m. with Charles Odong Top.
How to get points. Just use MTN to make calls, send SMS, load airtime, buy bundles, or pay for MTN subscription services.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field couldn't be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
You know, you could just buy a new smartphone from anywhere in Uganda. Dial *175 *94 hash to activate their 100% double data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles for 3 months. Better yet, you automatically receive free 1 GB valid for 30 days. You are hooked already, aren't you? Enjoy a 100% double data bonus from Airtel. Buy a smartphone from anywhere in Uganda and insert an Airtel SIM card. Dial *175 *94 hash to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles. Valid for 3 months. Dial *175 hash and select your preferred bundle to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles. Valid for 3 months. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Raising voices.
As a community member, I think we need to change in the way we act in response to violence against children. In my small way, I can be a leader in preventing violence in my community. I promise to work with my neighbor to create violence-free homes and communities for our children.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field couldn't be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Our Ugandan story isn't a new one. It's not about where we come from. It's about what can be accomplished when we're working, living, and growing together. It's about speaking the same language, the language of progress. We're Ugandans building Uganda with Ugandans, skilling Ugandans and developing competencies required in the oil and gas sector, partnering with Ugandan businesses to achieve greatness. We're here to build because at the end of the day, we're truly Ugandan.
Live from Now Avenue in Uganda.
We appreciate you so much.